If you've been recycling armaments like me, then you need to stop. The developers just launched a Q&A where they said that you can modify, to some extent, an existing armament, which means maybe we shouldn't have recycled some of the ones that we've already recycled. So in this video, we're going to go over the developer Q&A and try to figure out what's coming next for armaments. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today we're trying to make sense of the latest Q&A from the developers that just went live about the armament system. And if you are like me and you've been recycling armaments like crazy that you thought were junkers, in order to get the currency over here, to get the formation choice chests, you're not alone. I think that's what most people have been doing. But the developers just launched a Q&A that says you'll be able to modify, to some extent, an armament that you already have. Now, what does that mean? First, we're going to go over the entirety of their message to make sure that we understand what's been said. Then I'm going to hypothesize what it could mean to modify, to some extent, what your armament actually does, or what the stats are. So if we get a look over here, this is the face-to-face with the developers on the formation system. Governors, after the launch of the formation system, we received many questions regarding the system as well as armaments. We'll be answering some of them in this edition of the face-to-face. First order of business: in what scenarios are formations even enabled? Currently, formations and armaments are enabled in all scenarios apart from Champions of Olympia, Ark of Osiris, War of the Ruins, and Tempest Clash. We'll be enabling formations and armaments in scenarios, these scenarios, in future updates. Wow. So I thought that they were going to be an Ark. They aren't an Ark yet. P.S. I think triple line is actually going to be really positive for Ark, but I guess we'll see. Do formations and armaments apply to garrison and rallied troops? All buffs apply to garrison and rallied troops come from the captain's formation and armament effects. So yes, from the captain's formation armament effects. The formation and armament effects of other troops in the garrison or rallied troops do not apply. Okay, that makes sense. And then, how do I get Sage's testimony? Currently, Sage's testimony can be obtained through the following 5 means: travel dispatch, statecraft side quests, purchasing with gems, or exchanging at the courier station armament shop, aka recycling. Recycling, okay? But here is the big one, the moneymaker, the title of this video, the thumbnail's namesake. What can I do with an inscribed armament with poor attributes? Is recycling the only option? Now, an inscribed armament is one that has an inscription, by the way. So this is an armament with an inscription. They say we will be implementing a new feature in a future update that allows governors to alter the attributes of armaments in their possession to a certain degree. You'll be able to use this feature to adjust the attributes, plural, of your armaments. What? Okay. Wow. So, I'm trying to read between the lines, and it's hard to know if these were intended grammatical things that are very significant, or if it's just maybe not the most ideal translation, but adjust the attributes, plural, of your armament. So does that mean you could address one or more attributes? Does this mean an inscribed armament, does it have to have an inscription on it? Or are they just, responding to a question where somebody got a really badass inscription with an absolutely terrible set of attributes? For example, believe me, I have already recycled more than my fair share of complete garbo, but like this one, I got armored. 3.5% defense is freaking sick, but then I got barb damage, troop load, and gold gathering. And trust me, I have shredded at least 100 of these damn armaments that are like this, okay? Yikes. Maybe not with the inscription, but, with the attributes on here that are not amazing. So I want to finish their message. Okay, let's finish the message. And then talk about, how you prepare for this and what does it mean. Can I change the inscription on armaments that I own? Oh, yeah, there's some important stuff in here. You can change the inscription on armaments you obtained by inscribing it again. Inscribing an armament with no existing inscription will grant it one. since inscribing an armament will overwrite any inscription it has. This is important. I will say that again. Inscribing an armament will overwrite any inscription it has, which includes, by the way, if you have 2 inscriptions, you will end up with 1 afterwards. I will show you that support message in just a second. Since inscribing an armament will overwrite any inscription it has, please compare the differences between the old and new inscriptions carefully before finalizing the inscribing process. Now, courtesy of Asbodian, who's been chatting with me via Discord, here is a message I can share with you from support confirming that an armament that has 2 inscriptions, when inscribed with a new one, will end with only 1. So here's the message from Asbodian. We were chatting back and forth about armaments. He said, just to confirm, the armament with 2 inscriptions will be replaced by the inscribed inscription, so leaving just 1 on the armament. And the support team said, hi, so sorry for the delay. Yes, exactly. You will get that 1 inscription that you inscribe it. So in other words, if you start with 2 inscriptions and you found something really, really good you want to put on there, you will end with only 1 on there. Wow. So pulling a double inscription is cool, but at the end of the day, if you're going to use a KVK inscription, do it on a different armament was my conclusion. And I still agree with my conclusion from, oh God, it was 6 a.m., outed for having insomnia and chatting on Discord. But here we are. Yes, I was up nice and early, and that was the conclusion I drew with even a foggy brain. So let's jump back in game and get to the rest of the Q&A, and then we'll talk through all of the conclusions and things you need to do moving forward with your armaments here. The final question, which, I mean, if you've been in my streams, you actually already knew the answer to this. How are dispatches refreshed? A random dispatch will be generated after a governor completes an ongoing dispatch and claims the reward. Ongoing dispatches will remain until completed. Since there's a limit on how many dispatches you can accept every day, you can carry out multiple at once to make the most of your daily dispatch quota, and that is the conclusion of the Q&A. Now, I can show you that, yes, this is true. Look at what glorious things I have remaining. I have been dispatching for gold. Like 4 or 5 times in the last day or 2, I have dispatched for gold because I'm getting so unlucky. I'm getting so unlucky with what I'm getting here. Level 25 on the building, and all I can dispatch for is mostly gold and some speed ups, and occasionally I am getting some armaments. I don't know, like, I would say I'm at this point 50% armaments, 50% not armaments, but I'm probably just being super unlucky right now, which people say I have streamer luck, and then they just don't see when I'm getting absolutely decimated. Here we are. Now, that said, what are the implications for your armaments? And man, I don't know. Have I recycled an armament that I really would have wished to have in the future because I could change the attributes? Maybe. It depends on what changing the attributes to some extent means. Is it attribute single or attributes plural? For example, it wouldn't surprise me, okay, if the developers made it so that you could re-roll 1 and 1 attribute only on an armament. So an armament like Olympia's Chorus Master here, which is looking pretty good until you read the barb damage up on top. If you could just re-roll the barb damage at least once, what if you could re-roll it as many times as you want, but you could only re-roll that 1 attribute? Well, I mean, you could end up with a pretty good armament. Now, it might not make sense to re-roll it on this one because, as they seem to imply, the one that you'd really want to do that for is one that already has an inscription. And that's definitely true because the inscriptions, ooh, that is the rare, expensive, premium thing that, as far as I know, it's just so prohibitively difficult to obtain that, like, yeah, those are the armaments that you really want to keep. Now, the funny thing is that these are really the armaments I desperately want to recycle, because recycling them gives you more currency. So the comedy of this is that I think you want to hold these now, even though it's giving you extra currency. And let's be real, at least for the gold currency, you really don't need it urgently. There's nothing you can buy until you have 180, 160, I think it is, of the currency saved up. So, like, you don't actually have an urgent need to recycle your legendaries. So F's in the chat for those of you like me who have been. Now, the other thing they could do is they could say, actually, on any one armament, and I don't think they would do this, but they would say on any one armament, you could do a total of 3 rerolls. They might say it like that, or 5 rerolls, or whatever it is. And I would assume that doing any of these rerolls is going to cost you some currency, by the way, chat. Like, this is not going to be free. There's no shot, right? There's like no shot that this is free. So the thing that they may say is, well, you can do a total of like 5 rerolls on an armament, and you can reroll the same attribute, different attributes, who knows? Those are different ways that they could approach it. But I guess the moral of the story is that you should save your armaments, particularly if they have a good inscription. And I would consider saving armaments that are a double stat, okay? Like the one I was showing you over here. A double stat could potentially turn into a really good one. So a double stat could be a really big keeper. And, you know, the other thing that you might be able to do, and I don't know if they will do this with regard to, you know, addressing your attributes, but I'm sure you've noticed, and as I've explained in other videos, not only are the attributes that you get random, but the values of those attributes are random. So you can see here, I have 2 Olympia's Chorus Masters, and tragically, I rolled triple stat for archers on both of them. And I really want one for infantry, please. I'm an infantry main, but whatever. I rolled archers on both of them, and look at this. 3.5, 3.3, 2.6, and over here, 2.2, 2.1, 1.9. It is possible that rerolling the attributes to some extent could include keeping the modifier, keeping the attribute, so it would remain archer attack, but rerolling this value over here to potentially get a better value or a worse value. You're rolling the dice. I don't know. But I have played other games where, yeah, they make it so you can modify these sorts of things. And you could modify just about everything on, you know, the equivalent of an armament to get a better and better one, but it costs you some sort of currency. There's an expense to it. It ain't free. So I am going to be much more cautious in what I recycle and what I keep, and just looking at some of the ones that I already have. Thankfully, sort of thankfully, the ones that I'm sort of already holding on to happen to already have inscriptions because I've had such bad luck with some of these. I mean, literally, my second best archer one is 1.1% attack with robust, and the rest is trash. I mean, like, it's okay. I mean, considering that I'm spending $35 a day, I don't know if that's good or bad, but anyways, I've got a few of these where it's like, man, could have been cool. Like this one could have been cool. It's got fit, 2.5% health. It's echelon, premium for Trajan. I got infantry stats in there, and then I got gold gathering and siege. So can I reroll both of those, or will it only be one? Or, I mean, look at this. This is my best one for Guan. My best one for Guan. As I said earlier, it's like I got an inscription that's good, and then I have infantry march speed. Dude, I don't even have stats. I don't even have stats besides vitality. I'm like, okay, I guess 2.5% health is the best I've got. Over here, what do I have? Infantry attack 1.9 and another infantry attack of 2.5. Oh my God, man. I don't know. So you get lucky on some of these and you get unlucky on others. And it's entirely possible that, you know, we'll use this new system to try to chase all damage, defense, health as kind of like the perfect thing that you would be looking for. I have a few that come kind of close to this, but God, here's another one. 2.5% attack with 1% attack. And like, if I could re-roll these other two, like, man, I could end up somewhere pretty good. Oh God, look at the best one I have after spending $35 a day for some number of days is just 1.5% skill damage. And I say just because I'm sure other people are doing, you know, worse, but I don't know, man. This is one that I was looking for as like an example of a really good one. This is really good. This is kind of where you want to end up, although ideally it would be legendary. All damage, attack, and defense. This is pretty close to about as good as you could get, especially because that all damage number is high. It's 1.3. So I would just be really cautious about recycling. And to the developers, I would encourage to just like really, really quickly follow up with how it is we can modify these bad boys, right? Because I think that's information that will be really valuable to folks. And I think it's very good that they sent this message sooner than later rather than, you know, waiting to send this to us. As soon as the developers knew that this is a direction they wanted to go, like, yeah, you have to let players know right away. Because the longer you wait to let people know that, like, oh, P.S., you've been recycling things you might have really wanted to keep. I mean, the longer you wait to send that message, the more upset people will be. And I feel like this is a very, very important change because I think it's Plato Gaming who kind of said this best, which is the thing that makes Rise of Kingdoms fun is that you chase premium rewards and you chase endgame stuff. Best commanders, you work toward incrementally. Best equipment, you work toward incrementally. And the challenge that players are experiencing with the armament system is that there's no chase whatsoever. There is only chance. There is only a chance that you will end up with something good. And I can't even really chase being a premium rally lead, like a top tier rally lead anymore. Like I could spend, I go hope for the best, but that's not really chasing. It's 100% chance. So I think this is very important because it starts to shift the dynamic, depending on how much they do with this, from being completely chance to being something that we can chase. We can work toward incrementally, aspire toward, feel like we're getting progress, right? Because with a legendary commander, you get gold heads. You can build up. You can even save up in advance, right? And then when a commander lands, you can be meta for a day, baby, right? You can have it on the day the commander went live. And even with equipment, if they drop new equipment and you save materials, well, congratulations. Like you could have it as soon as you've got the pattern for it. But with the armaments, it's random. And so this does feel like a very good change. I just hope it comes really soon. And I hope we know exactly how it will work as soon as possible. With that said, I'm eager for your thoughts down below in the comments. And if you're looking for more information about formations and particularly which formation I think is the best and how these inscriptions really are significant, I'll have a card in the end screen right down over here. And if you're looking for just like more basic questions about this system, I've covered this in 2 live streams. A card for that will be in the end screen in just a second right over here.